The story I'm going to share today is another blacklisting story, or a way that I feel I was medically blacklisted. I'll share my story. You decide. This one's a little bit harder to share. There's a couple of them. I think this one and the next one are going to be ones that are hard to share for me. Going into Emerge and being a regular at Emerge is one thing, and then being a blacklisted patient in Emerge is a completely different thing. The number of times that I've gone in and heard what drug will fix you, or you're just looking for medication, that's just the start of it. I have my own medication. I learned a long time ago to refuse any pain medication and Emerge, just because of how you're treated if you do take pain medication. If you accept the pain medication and Emerge, you're automatically labeled a drug seeker, which I'm not. And I've proven that over I don't know how many years. So this specific occasion, I went in, I had a bowel obstruction with the endometriosis. I was getting rectal bleeds 2 days before my period, pretty much every month, that were extremely painful. Not just painful, but I think the worst part is the mom guilt, that your kids have to hear you when you're like that. And I see the silver lining. I see what amazing kids I have and how they have more empathy than most adults I do. So I do try and see the silver lining in things. This specific one we'll call Dr. Sadist, because that's what he was. I went into an Emerge, and I needed to clear a bowel obstruction because I think I hadn't gone to the washroom in like 3 weeks or something like that. And explained I barely eat, because the more I eat, the more likely the chances are I have a bowel obstructions. Now, I don't know if at that time I knew that it was from bowel endometriosis. Now I know that the bowel endometriosis, even though they put me on, I think it's called Aspen Diogenist, it's a progesterone, which stopped my period and therefore stopped the rectal bleeds. And at the time, I didn't realize that I was having these cyclic bowel obstructions. So I still get, even on the medication, every month when I should get my period, I get bowel obstructions, which have gotten a lot worse. The last 2 months, especially the one right after Christmas, was really bad. Included, urinary retention, which has been happening for a while, but the new symptom was fecal vomiting, which isn't fun to say. It's exactly what it sounds like. And they seem to be taking it a little bit more seriously now, which is good. But this Dr. Sadist, so I had to go into the hospital to Emerge for one of these bowel obstructions. I do everything at home. So I'd done probably about 20 regular enemas, because I think I'd done each one refilled 3 or 4 times. I'd done a bag enema, because that's where I'm at in life, that I have to do these medical procedures to stay out of Emerge. When I went in, when they did blood work, they put in an IV, and told me that he wanted to give me medication before they did the procedure, which, as I always do, I said, no, that's okay, I have my own medication. And the nurse assured me that no, they did not want me to take my own medication, that they wanted to give me something that was more stronger for the procedure. So I waited and hours go by, and my pain medication had completely worn off. So I asked again about taking my medication. Oh no, he's going to be in shortly. Don't take your medication. So I didn't. When he came in to do the procedure, a nurse walked in front of him, and I could tell just from the look on her face it wasn't right. She handed me one of those little paper cups with 2 Tylenols in it. And I looked at her and I'm like, you guys are joking, right? I'm going to do this with 2 Tylenols. And he said, either you're going to do the procedure now, or I'm not doing it at all. So I didn't really have a choice, because I needed to have it done. So I did the procedure, and ended up on a commode in the hospital room because somebody was in the washroom, and then eventually got to the washroom. I worked in a hospital. I know you don't touch the floor of a hospital, never mind lay on it. I use my elbow to open the doors, the automatic door button. You don't even touch things. I was laying, screaming on the bathroom floor for over a half an hour. When I came out, Dr. Sadist was standing 5 to 10 feet in front of the door with the biggest grin on his face, which sounds so messed up, which is exactly how I felt at the time. I'm like, how can you possibly be smiling at a patient that you've just heard screaming for the last half an hour? One by one, nurses started to come into my room, apologizing, not sure what happened or why it happened, just saying this isn't right. They knew something was wrong. So at that time, I had already called him Dr. Sadist to one of the nurses, and I started to think about some of this medical blacklisting and why it happens in doctors and who they know. So I searched his name. I think it was after like 3 to 5 doctors had walked in and said this was not right. I searched Dr. Sadist's name with the doctor who did, my C-section. And not only did they work at the other hospital together, but they went to the same synagogue. I found pictures of them with their arms around each other like they were best friends. Called my lawyer that same week and told him, and within a week, every single picture of both of those doctors to this day, even like the hospital picture, if you go to the hospital and look up my OBGYN, his hospital picture is blurred out. There are no pictures of him on the internet. Why do you need to hide that? Well, because obviously your friends were mistreating me, put me through hell again for something I didn't deserve. I've complained to the hospital. I send them, for each of these stories, I've sent an email. And I'm glad I did, because it's something that I can revisit and be able to share with you to the amount of detail. The next one I share is going to probably be even harder. But this one I think was in 2017. So we're talking 6 years after my C-section. I'm going into the hospital telling them I get rectal bleeds 2 days before my periods. Isn't this endometriosis? I've been saying this since like 2013. In 2021 alone, 4 OBGYNs refused my referral. And with the help of a patient advocate, a file was sent to Canadian Human Rights, who held on to it just long enough for it to be outside of the 1 year frame that you have to file, and then told them that they needed to send it to Ontario Human Rights. But by then it was outside the year. This is how our bureaucracies work. I did complain to the CPSO of Ontario. I did explain everything that's going on and what happened. I got a letter back. It was just before March break of 2020, right before the kids went on lockdown, all the COVID madness. And I didn't realize you only had, I can't remember if it was 30, I think it was 30. It might have been 60, but I think it was 30 days to respond. And I was outside by a few weeks. Obviously, it was extreme circumstances with everything going on with my health. And then on top of that, the kids being home, everything going on, like trying to get groceries and everything at the beginning of the COVID lockdowns. But that wasn't a good enough a reason for me to be outside the timelines. To be honest, when I read the letter, I just read the denial part of it, and I bawled and shut down.